Hi boys and girls, it's time for lesson 9.7, time to the half hour. First I want to start with a little demonstration with my big clock here. And this clock is set up that the hands work together here. Currently this is pointing to no minutes after and right at the 7, so it's 7 o'clock. Watch what happens when the minute hand goes halfway past the hour at the 30 mark, because 30 would be halfway to the 60. The red hour hand went past the 7. Right now it's between the 7 and 8. We would say it's 7:30. You go with the number it just went past, or 7:30. So if I were going to write that, it would look like this. I'd do a 7 dot dot 30, 7:30. Let's look at a couple more before we get to our lesson page. So now if I change it to the next hour, which would be 8 o'clock, and again my minute hand goes half past right down to the 6, that's halfway to the 12. Now it's 8:30 or 8:30, which I would write like this. I would write 8 dot dot 30, 8:30 or 8:30. Let's do just one more of those before we get to our booklet. So now let's change. Let's start right up at the 12 o'clock. And we go half past. And we look at the hour hand is past the 12. It's 12:30 or 12:30, which we'd write like this. A 12 dot dot 30, 12:30. Now let's put away this big clock. We'll grab our mouse clocks and have our booklet ready on 9.7 and something to write with. And so if we move now to 9.7, we have some clocks that you're looking at here. And the first clock, it says circle 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, or between 4 and 5 to describe the time shown on the clock. So the first one, if I look at my mouse clock, the little hand is pointing directly to the 4. So we would be circling the 4 o'clock time because it's exactly on the 4. The second clock there shows the hand in the middle of the 4 and 5, or between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock, and that the hour hand, is there. The minute hand, you don't see it in the picture, but it would be down on the 6. And the hour hand is between the 4 and 5, so we would circle between 4 and 5 o'clock. The bottom one, the hour hand, is directly on the 5, and if the minute hand were there, it would look like this. So that one is 5 o'clock. Now let's turn our page and go to the next page. So now we're on page 550. And if you read at the top, it says, as an hour passes, the hour hand moves from one number to the next number. When a half hour passes, the hour hand points halfway between the two numbers. And that first one there, it looks like this. It's between the 7 and 8, and I'll still put my minute hand down here, even though they didn't show it there. And it's between the 7 and 8, so we'd say it's 7:30. That's what's in the example there. I like to, as we're doing this, to add my minute hand when it's half past. It helps me make sure I remember it's halfway around or 30 minutes past. So I'm going to go ahead on my paper here on this page and draw the minute hands, the long ones going right down to the 6, to be half past. So our next one would look like this. I see that the hour hand is after the 1, and we drew the minute hand down to the 6. That would be 1:30 or 1:30. Today in our booklet, they want us to use the word half past. So let me show you what that would look like. 1:30. You would write it like this. 1:30. Our next one, so that one we wrote with for number 1, 1:30. The next one, the hour hand is between the 4 and the 5. We drew the minute hand down to the 6. And that one is 4:30 because it came right after the 4. So we would write 4:30 for that one. 4:30. Our next one, number 3, we see that the hour hand is after the 11, and we drew the minute hand down to the 6. And so that one is 11:30, or what we would say would be 11:30. Our next one, the hour hand is after the 3. It's between the 3 and 4. We drew the minute hand down to the 6. That would be 3:30, or 3:30. Good job. Now turn to your next page. We're going to continue working on this. We're going to flip to page 551. And we have a few more of these to practice. So this one, I see the hour hand is after the 5. Oh, we better take a second, draw all our minute hands on these 4 going down, because I see they're halfway in between. So our minute hands are going to go down to the 6. Don't worry at the bottom yet. We'll get to that. So this one up here, as we move down, is after the 5. And the minute hands down the 6, that'd be 5:30, or 5:30. 5:30. Our next one, on number 6, the minute hand is still on that 6 that we drew, and the hour hand is after the 10 this time. So we would say that's 10:30, or 10:30. Going on to number 7. Number 7, we look at that minute hand we drew is down on the 6 still. The hour hand is after the 2. It's between the 2 and 3. So that would be 2:30, or 2:30. 2:30 is what we're writing. And you can pause at any time if you want to write those half past, taking your time to write that. The next one, number 8, our minute hand is still on the 6. Our hour hand is after the 9 right now, so we would say that's 9:30, or 9:30. Now to the bottom, we have 3 clocks at the bottom. Let's take a peek at those. It says Maya starts reading at 8:30. Circle the clock that shows the time Maya starts reading. Well, the first one, and again, they didn't draw the minute hand, so we can see they're all, well, actually, they're not all half past. This first one is half past, so we're going to put a minute hand down there. This one is right on the 7, so the minute hand's going to go up to the 12. This one's halfway between, so we're going to go ahead and put our line down to the 6. So the first and the last one are half past, and this one was right at the 7. We're looking for 8:30. Well, we know it's not going to be the one right at the 7. This one, the hour's after the 8, and this one, the hour's after the 7. So the first one looks like this. It's after the 8. The second one was exactly on the 7. And the third one, whoops, let me move that down so you can see better. And the third one was after the 8. Excuse me, the third one's after the 7. Mrs. Fred was looking in the wrong place there. After the 7. Well, we know it's 8:30, so we have to go with the first one where it was after the 8. So we're going to circle that first one is 8:30. Now flip to the back of that lesson, and let's see what we have to work on here. There's a story here. It's a story problem. Can we do our story problems here? Story problems. Oh, yes, we can do them. The story says Tim plays soccer at 9:30. He eats lunch at 1:30. He sees a movie at 2:30. Look at the clock. What is Tim doing? So the clock right now, they didn't draw the minute hand. So again, we can draw, since we see it's after the 2, and it's in between, halfway in between. So we're going to draw our minute hand down to the 6. And it shows that the hour is after the 2. So going back to our clues, Tim plays soccer at 9:30. Well, that's not after 9, so he's not playing soccer right now. He eats lunch at 1:30. It's not after the 1, it's further than that, so he's not eating lunch. He sees a movie at 2:30. This one is after the 2, halfway around. So Tim sees a movie is what you should be writing in your blank there. Sees a movie. Our next story, Tyra has a piano lesson at 5 o'clock. The lesson ends at 5:30. How much time is Tyra at her lesson? Circle your answer. So let's think about it. Her lesson starts at 5 o'clock. So let's make our mouse clock look like 5 o'clock here. And there we go, 5 o'clock. And it says her lesson ends at 5:30. So we're going to move this in between 5 and 6 in our minute hand all the way down to the 6. Has she been there a half hour or a whole hour? Well, we only went halfway, so she's only been at her piano lesson for a half hour. Now our last question on the page, it says, what time is it? Circle the time that makes the sentence true. So we see our hour hand that on that one is after the 5, and this one goes with what she's been doing. And the minute hand is right on the 6. That would be 5:30 or 5:30 is what we'd have to circle. Now the homework will be similar, but there are a couple of questions I want to help you with that are spiral review, which we haven't actually gotten to those chapters yet, that I want to show you on the back of page 554. There's a number that looks like this. It has some lines going down. And then it has some circles over here. We're supposed to figure out what number this is. Well, each of these lines represents 10. So let's count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. These represent 1, so let's count by ones. 101, 102, 103. And when we go to write that number, it's a 1, a 0, and a 3. That's what that represents, is 103. And the last one, it shows a problem with a number 14 in the leaf, and it asks for how many tens. I'll write 10 here. And how many ones? Well, we've worked on this on our calendar throughout the year. We know the first number shows how many are in the tens place, 110, and how many are in the ones place, 4 ones. Good work on lesson 9.7 today.